Hey, good morning everyone. So I'm going to start today by finding a comfortable seat. If you'd like to sit on your block or cushion, you can do that. Otherwise, you can sit on your shins or in a cross-legged position, or even with the legs in front of you, whatever feels good. I'm going to take a nice big inhale, breath through the nose, and then sigh the breath out. Close your eyes at this point. And repeating that exercise, big breath in through the nose. And sighing out. One more time, taking a lovely breath in. And then releasing everything that's no longer serving you. Starting to feel the stress, anxiety, and tension melt away. And we're connecting into our dual energies this morning, the Shiva and Shakti energies, growing the spine up as tall as you can to feel that active energy. The engagement, energy of strength and support. And with that strong skeleton, you're able to now soften all of the muscles around. Feeling a releasing down towards the earth. Letting go, surrender. And in each pose today, I'd like you to try and find this balance between the active and the passive. Between the alert and the relaxed. Working your way towards the Tao, the center. Very difficult to find balance and control in the world in general. So we start with small things, like finding balance in our breath, finding balance in the posture that we're in, finding balance in the moment that we're in. And the better adept we become at finding balance in the small and in the mundane, we start to notice how this spreads out into other areas of our life. And we start to feel more balanced in the way that we think, in the way that we process our thoughts and emotions, in the way that we interact with others. Just starting with small changes. On your exhale breath, you can lower your chin down to your chest. And then slide the shoulders away from the ears. Let your head become a little bit heavier. And we're working into the back of the neck and across into the trapezius muscles here. So the more you surrender with the head, the more traction you get into these muscles. Let's roll the ear to one shoulder. And again, keeping your opposite shoulder pressing away from the ear to feel that extra stretch across the side of the neck. You can turn your chin slightly down. Turn your chin slightly up. And then find where you're getting your best stretch between those 3 points. You may want to lightly place your hand to the top of your head, creating just a bit more weight. And then floating your opposite arm off the mat. Let's release the hands down, coming back to center, and then over to the other side. Slightly lowering chin to chest. And then slightly lifting chin to the sky. Finding the space where you're getting your best stretch between those 3 points. Remember to keep your lower jaw relaxed. You can have the added weight if it feels good. And then floating the opposite arm away to get more stretch across the side of the trapezius. And then coming back to center, releasing the hands. Take some nice big circles with the shoulders. And then changing the direction of the shoulders, other way. And then lightly gripping the hands into the knees as you move into a seated cat-cow pose. Inhaling to open the chest, leaning forward as you arch into the back. Exhale to round, tucking chin to chest, and lifting the pubic bone up. Flow with your own pace. And then coming into the center. You're going to roll over the hands and knees into your tabletop pose, and then start to walk the hands forward for melting heart. Lowering your forehead towards the floor and letting the chest sink down towards the mat. Keep opening the shoulder blades away from one another and see how that feels, how that affects the alignment in the upper back. And now roll the shoulder blades in towards one another, almost lifting the armpits, and notice how that affects the alignment and the energy of the pose. And then come into a neutral space where you're not engaging into the shoulder blades, but just allowing a sense of release. On the inhale breath, start to walk yourself back up, bringing the hands underneath the shoulders. You're now going to lower the elbows to the floor and interlocking the fingers, pointing forefinger and thumb. Walk your elbows a little bit further forward, and again dropping the forehead to the mat, bringing the hands behind you. And you should feel a bit more stretch into the triceps this time. And then slowly releasing from here, you can bring the hands back to the floor. Check that the elbows are now underneath the shoulders, pointing all the fingers and bringing the hands flat together in a prayer hand pose. Tuck the toes and lift your knees off the mat so that you're in your forearm plank. And I'll start to round into your shoulder blades. You can let your neck relax, but really rounding into those shoulder blades, pressing them further and further apart. And then start to draw the shoulder blades together, but make sure you don't sag into the lower back here. Just drawing the shoulder blades together, still firm in the core in your plank pose. And now let's round into those shoulder blades again. Try not to lift your bum too high. We're trying to create a rounded back without lifting the hips. And then drawing the shoulder blades in tightly together so the body drops slightly. Be mindful of not arching into the lower back. From here, drop the knees to the floor and then come to lie in your child's pose. Bring the hands next to the hips just so you can relax those shoulders for a moment. Sliding hands in front of you as you make your way into downward facing dog. So the upper back and shoulders are probably feeling fairly open, the legs not so much. Let's spend a bit of time stretching out the legs. And as you stretch the legs, you're going to use that openness in the upper back to deepen your down dog, working your rib cage closer towards the thighs. Remember to make sure the neck feels relaxed, there's no tension building up, and keep opening the shoulder blades away from the ears so that the neck is lengthening. If your head pops back into the torso like you're a turtle hiding in the shell, that's going to cause a lot of tension into the traps. So you always want to feel as though the neck is lengthening away, gently and softly. We're getting a lovely deep elongation. Let's sink both heels to the floor. Either walk hands to feet or feet to hands, whichever is more comfortable for you, and making your way to ragdoll. Gently rolling from one side to the other. Coming to center, we're going to roll all the way up, so bend your knees deeply, keeping chin to chest, and gently unraveling the body little bit by little bit. On the inhale, taking the hands all the way up to the sky. Let's hook the thumbs above and then spread your fingers wide, drawing the shoulder blades back and down. On the inhale, breath leaning over to the right, pushing the hips all the way to the left. Coming back to center and then leaning to the other side. Inhale to the center, drawing the hands behind you, interlock fingers. Roll the shoulder blades together here as you lift open through the heart. And then softening your knees to forward fold. Let the hands hang over the back body. Releasing hands to the floor, making your way into downward facing dog. And then working into a cat-like back, you're going to round your spine as you come forward into plank pose. And again, round the shoulder blades as best you can, strong into the core. And now you're going to draw the shoulder blades together without letting the hips sag. So working into protraction, retraction of these shoulders, rounding into the back, and then drawing the shoulder blades together. Almost like a little cat-cow movement just into the shoulder girdle, into the rotator cuff. Let's do one more. And then lifting up and back into downward facing dog again. Breathing into the space. On the inhale breath, take your right leg to the sky. I'm going to roll the ankle a few times. Change the direction of the roll. And then hugging knee to face, face to knee. Looking between the hands, step your foot down into the lunge. Dropping the back knee to the mat and inhale, hands to the sky. Lifting up out of the lower back as you sink the hips forward, getting a nice deep stretch into the hip flexors, engaging into psoas muscle. On the inhale, let's bring the hands into eagle, left elbow underneath right. Draw the shoulder blades down, and then you press the palms against one another, sliding the hands a little bit further away. On the inhale breath, open up, hands to the floor, and then stepping your way back into downward facing dog. Breathing here. Let's round that spine in a cat-like motion to come forward into plank. And then again a few protraction, retractions through the shoulder blades. You can, of course, have your knees on the floor for this. If the plank pose is too intense, then do this in a tabletop variation. Let's round into that back, coming into downward facing dog. Taking the left leg to the sky. Roll your ankle a few times here. Change the direction of the circle. And then hugging knee to face, face to knee. Looking between the hands, step the foot down into lunge. Making your way to crescent lunge, back knee down, floating the hands up. Eagle arms with the right elbow underneath the left. Inhale to open, and then exhale the hands down to the mat. This time we're going to step forward into flat back. And exhale to forward fold. Really lengthen the crown of the head to the earth, flicking the tailbone to the sky. Find those dual energies of active and passive. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. And then bringing the hands to the hips, reach your head forward, reach your tailbone back, and then lifting all the way up to stand. Coming into Tadasana. On the inhale breath, floating the hands to the sky. And exhale to forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale to forward fold. Inhale the right leg into lunge and exhale followed into plank. Holding in your plank pose. and finding that comfortable space for the neck and shoulders. So they're both active but manageably passive. Dropping knees, chest and chin to the floor. And then sliding into Sphinx pose, elbows to the mat. Let's push the pubic bone into the floor as you float open through the heart. Feel how the neck is elongating out of the shoulders here. And you reach from the back of the skull, so not from the forehead, but the back of the head. And that allows the elongation of the spine and the retraction of the trapezius muscles. Exhale to release down, hands under shoulders, moving into child's pose. And then downward facing dog. On your inhale breath, taking the right leg to the sky. And exhale the foot forward between the hands. Let's lift into warrior two, floating the hands up. Breathing deeply into your warrior two pose. Coming forward into Parsvakonasana, elbow to thigh and sweeping the back hand over the ear. Sink that front hip down. And then we're going to take the top hand into the half bind. So float the hand up and then bring it behind your back, either placing the back of the hand against the lower back, into the hip, or even to your inner thigh. Maybe you'd like to go a bit deeper, lowering the bottom hand to the ankle or the mat. But whatever you choose, make sure you've got space to open up that front body. Keep the shoulder moving away from the ear and always finding that length in the neck. We're going to stay in this half bind as you float the front arm up and back into reclining warrior. On the inhale, straighten the front hand forward and then straighten your front leg. Heel toe the back foot in one space and then coming forward for Trikonasana, holding your bind. Find the balance between the front and back foot, making sure the neck feels in a comfortable space. Let's inhale to come back up, re-bend the front knee, and then float the back hand behind you. Cartwheeling hands down to the mat and stepping into plank. Let's work into a few protractions, retractions in those shoulders. And then lowering knees, chest and chin. Coming into cobra this time, hands under the shoulders as you lift through the chest. Point the toes behind you and really try to lift this energy into the upper body. Lengthening the lower back so there's no tension there. Dropping down and then sliding into child's pose. And then from your child's pose, lifting into downward facing dog. On the inhale breath, taking the left leg to the sky. And then stepping the foot forward into warrior two. Floating the hands up. Getting a nice deep stretch through the front and back leg evenly. So finding the balance in this pose. Let's take it into Pasva with the elbow to the front thigh and sweeping the back arm over the ear. Sink into the hips here to deepen that stretch of the inner thighs. Taking the top hand into the half bind by lifting it up, turning the palm back, and then either coming onto the lower back, into the waist, or into the front thigh. You can deepen the stance here if you have space to do so. Maintaining your half bind as you float the front arm up and back into reclining warrior. Let's straighten the front arm and lengthening into the front leg. One heel, one toe of the back foot as you come down into triangle. On your inhale, breath floating back up, releasing the hands as you bend the front knee into warrior two pose. Cartwheeling hands down to the floor and stepping back into plank. Again, let's work into some protraction, retraction. And then lowering knees, chest and chin. Lifting into cobra pose. Softening the elbows in towards the rib cage, puffing open through the heart. Remember to keep the neck in a neutral space. So if you turn the face up, the neck takes compression. If you keep the face looking forward and lift through the back of the skull, the neck elongates. Let's release down to the floor, coming into child's pose. And taking a few deep breaths here. Sliding up and back into downward facing dog. On the inhale breath, taking the right leg to the sky. And we're going to come forward into pigeon pose on the right side. Sliding your back leg a little bit further back. Lift open through the heart into your upright pigeon. Breathing deeply here. Press quite firmly into the legs so there is some activation in the support system. If you can go a bit higher, you can always walk the fingers further in, or maybe even bring the hands together at the heart. This is not an option for everyone. It can be a bit intense into the lower back if your lower back is feeling tight. Let's gently release down now onto the elbows. Maybe you want to come further onto the backs of the hands. And maybe you want to go further still to lie onto the chest. If you feel that you need to take this pose further to start to feel the effects of it, we can work into a twist by bringing the left arm under the chest and the right arm over the back into a bind. Let's gently release from here. Whichever pose you're in, you're going to make your way back up into your upright pigeon. And then sitting into the front hip, swing the back leg around and all the way over for Gomukha Asana. So now we're stacking the knees one on top of the other with the soles of the feet facing behind you. Make sure the sitting bones are flat to the mat. It's inhale here and exhale to forward fold. Allow the hips and the back to soften and relax. And if you're happy where you are, you're going to stay there. If you'd like to go a bit deeper, you'll lift back up again, taking the right hand behind the back and the left hand below. Interlocking fingers or holding onto the shirt or strap as you gently forward fold. Inhale to lift yourself back up, releasing into the hands. Bring the hands forward as you now roll onto the tops of your feet. Press into the tops of the feet and then hop yourself into plank pose. We're going to lower chaturanga this time if that's comfortable for you. Otherwise, stick with knees, chest, chin. Coming into an upward facing dog if you're happy there. Otherwise, coming into cobra. Let's slide back into downward facing dog. Stretching through the back of those legs as you flick the tailbone to the sky. Taking the left leg up now and drawing the knee forward for Kapatanasana. Slide the back foot a little bit further back. We're going to hold into our upright pigeon pose. So press the legs into the floor, maintaining that foundation, that balance. Maybe you can walk the hands in a little bit, puffing open through the heart. Maybe you can bring the hands together at the heart. Be mindful of what's happening in your SI joint. And then let's gently release, coming down onto the elbows. You can stay here if you like, or come down onto the back of the hands. Again, you can stay here if you like, or come down to the chest. If you took the twist on the other side, you can take it again here. Just be mindful that you don't want your hips to drop over too deeply in the twist. You still want the more or less straight alignment of that lower back. Feel how relaxing the shoulder away from the ear helps to stretch the neck and trapezius muscles. And then releasing from here, let's come back up to center and then sitting into your front hip, swing the back leg around. Adjust your alignment here so you're sitting in your Gomukha Asana. And we'll come forward without the arms for the first few breaths. Just to allow some space in the hips and the back. And if you're happy with the challenge that you're in, you're going to stay as you are. If you feel like you need a bit more, we'll take the left arm behind, the right arm below, interlocking fingers or holding onto your shirt. Make sure the neck is free here as you gently forward fold again. Inhale to lift yourself back up, releasing through the shoulders. Let's bring the hands to the floor. You're going to press into the tops of those feet, a few little pulses, and then hop yourself into plank pose, moving through a vinyasa of your choice. And back into downward facing dog. Let's walk, step or hop, just sit on the mat. And then bringing your legs in front of you, slowly rolling down to sit, to lie onto your back rather. Taking your knees into your chest. Flattening down through the lower back. Maybe you want to give yourself a little gentle massage here, rolling from side to side. Coming into a figure of four, we're going to place the right heel to the left thigh. And then draw your thigh in towards you as you push the top knee away. Take us a little bit deeper by wrapping the hands around the shin bone and pulling the leg in even closer. Going further still by straightening the leg up to the sky, and then you can bring the hands onto the calf muscle. Just remember, there is a tendency to round the neck here and let your head drop back. So trying to alleviate any tension in the upper body by just gently pressing the back of the skull into the floor and making sure that the chin is in a neutral space. So we're not lifting the chin and compressing the neck, but coming into a neutral space. Maybe you've got a bit more space to even walk up to the ankle or to the foot. Keep your lower back pressing against the floor. You're going to feel a lovely deep stretch into the QLs at the lower end of the muscle. And from here, gently releasing. You're going to re-bend that top knee. Open the arms into a T shape and coming into a figure of four twist. I like to lightly hold onto my top ankle. And then I find that when I drop your top knee away, that there is this really nice activation happening into the hip joint. Finding that balance between the active and the passive, so that I'm able to let go and release and get into the deep connective tissues, but I'm still creating an active alignment in this pose. Let's return to the center, switching the legs around. So left ankle to right thigh. I'm going to hold to the back of the right thigh to begin. So moving slowly, stage by stage, so the muscles have time to relax and respond appropriately. Coming around the shin. So although we know how far our bodies are able to go, we know the most intense variation of a pose, we never start with that intense variation. Always allowing time and space to gently and slowly open the body. And straighten the leg to the sky now. And then walking the hands to the back of the calf muscles. So it's fine if you've got to lift your head off the floor to get the grip on the leg, but when you lay your head back down again, just check that alignment. And you can feel with your body how deep you want to go. Working with your breath. Rebend into that top leg, bring the hands out in a T shape and dropping into the twist. Holding lightly to that top foot, gaze to the opposite side. So we're not dropping the knee down towards the earth here, but rather lifting towards the sky. Feeling that connection into the hip joint, into the glute. And then returning to center. Take the knees into the chest again. And then coming to rock like a ball. So rounding the spine. Doing it slowly so you can lift up and straighten the back at the top, and then rounding to come down, slowly lifting up. And we're going to do this a few times. Try not to kick the legs as best you can. So you're engaging into the lower belly muscles to lift. The slower you go, the more core engagement you're using. One more, and then it's lift and hold. You can either choose to hold onto the thighs or stretch the hands in front of you. Open the chest. Make sure you're on the sitting bones and not on the sacrum. Let's now straighten the legs. You're going to lower the legs as you lift the arms, coming into Dandasana, and then extending forward for Paschimottanasana. Opening up through the spine, coming into Konasana legs, interlocking the fingers into the Baddha Konasana, pressing the knees down to the earth as you lift open through the spine. And exhale to gently forward fold. Inhale to lift back up to center, draw the knees together. Let's straighten the left leg and place the right foot to the outer edge of the thigh. Sitting up nice and tall and coming into a twist, wrapping left elbow around the shin. Returning to center and then opening the body in the opposite direction for a gentle responsive twist. and then back to center. Take your right knee to the chest and then extend the leg forward, left knee in and placing the foot to the outer edge of the thigh. Lifting up tall, engage into the spine, and then it's twist facing to the left. Returning to the center and opening in the opposite direction, just gently here. Inhale to center, taking the knee into the chest again, and then releasing the legs out in front of you. Let's slowly roll onto the back. And then pressing the hands into the floor to lift the toes to the sky. You can choose to stay here. If you have any neck or shoulder issues, this might be the best space for you. And then you want to flatten into the back and get a lovely releasing sensation through the legs as the blood starts to trickle down into the abdominal organs. Should you like to go a little bit deeper, we'll take us into Halasana by sliding your feet over the body to the floor behind you. Hands are going to press firmly into the mat. Trying your best to straighten your legs. I've got a little Buddha in my way here, which is actually quite nice. I can rest my toes on my Buddha. If you prefer, you can always bend your knees onto your forehead. Take 2 more breaths. And then slowly releasing the body. Let's see if we can come up into our full shoulder stand by bringing the hands onto the lower back and lifting the legs to the sky. So remember, this is shoulder stand, not neck stand. The weight is in the shoulders and into the back of the triceps. You want to try and straighten the front body as best you can. When we start shoulder stand, the feet are often over the head. That's fine for now, but to keep lifting those feet up to the sky, make sure there's no undue pressure into that neck. To lower down, we're going to come back towards Halasana, hands to the floor, and then using your hands as brakes as you slowly drop down to the mat, coming back into Virupurani with the legs straight to the sky. From here, we're going to move into Matsyasana, fish pose. So engage into the lower belly to drop the legs down. At the bottom, bend your knees, place your hands underneath your glutes, pointing the toes straight. Inhale, lifting onto the elbows, chest lifts, head very lightly drops back. You can almost float your head off the floor. The activation here is into the chest, opening it up, pressing elbows to the floor while your legs reach away from you. Bring your chin to your chest, lying onto your back, releasing the hands and draw your knees in. Hopefully the neck isn't feeling overly pressured. If your neck does feel a bit tight or tender, that is a sign that your alignment is not quite right in your Halasana or your shoulder stand. And to try and work more engagement away from the head and into the core. Do a little gentle roll here. Taking it into happy baby. and then moving into Shavasana. Straightening the legs to the corners of the mat, lengthening into the lower back, broadening into the space between the shoulders, finding a comfortable space for your neck. Sometimes it's nice to fold a blanket or a towel up underneath your head as a pillow. Sometimes just lifting the back of the skull slightly can give the back of the neck the space that you require. Take a nice big inhale through the nose and sigh the breath out. One more time, big breath in and sighing out. Finding stillness. Finding comfort, finding balance. Slowly starts to deepen and lengthen your breath. Feeling your belly rise and fall. Gently running your thumb over the tips of your fingers, moving your toes, your ankles and your wrists. Sliding your legs together and extending your arms overhead. Taking a deep, energizing stretch as you yawn or sigh. Bending your knees and rolling over onto your side. On your inhale, breath lifting into a comfortable seated position. Drawing hands together at the heart center. We'll close the class by chanting Om once and Shanti 3 times. Taking a deep breath in. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Raising your hands to your third eye. The light in me sees and honors the light in you. Lowering your hands to your lips, to your heart, to your mat. Bowing forward in recognition of your practice. Blinking eyes open, inhaling to lift. Namaste.